Hello, welcome back YouTube. Thank you for tuning in again with Coding with Glen. And in this tutorial, we're going to be looking more like a form specifiers and what they give us the opportunity to manipulate our strings in output and so forth. So in this tutorial, we're going to talk about both the input and output. I know we have not talked about that yet, but for now we're going to be talking about the symbol format specifier. For now, we're going to deal with this tree that is percentage %, that is for returning a string, and percentage %d, that is for returning a decimal numeric value, and percentage %f for returning a float. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to look into detail about these manipulations we can do. So let's just go on through the notes here a little bit before we dive into our code. And there is this thing we call slicing. It's often gets used with the list, those compound types, but for a string it is possible because a string is generally a sequence of characters, so the slicing should be working perfectly. As you can see here, there's the start, step, and stop. So what happens here is this is the start, the initial start of the value, where we want to start from the index start, and then the step, how much further do we need to iterate? Do we iterate by one value, by two values, or what? And this is the end. So it's a sequence to read a string iteratively, and then S just returns the string. And this slicing here, as you see here, what you dial, it will just start from the index after the specified one, so it's going to start from 2 here, ending at the 5th one. So this one is going to start the S5 here is going to start from the 6th, ending to the end of the list if you do not specify anything after the colon here. So we have a keyword like start with, end with in Python. This is just going to be a checking manner, like we're checking if a string starts with a certain character, with a certain sequence of strings again, and end with just as the opposite. It reads from the end and checks if it exists. So we're going to be looking also at the lower upper is low upper, and capitalize. These are for manipulating the string so that we can change the casing. And then we look lastly at the split, strip, the limit, string, remove white space. That's what they represent, these things. So if you want to pause this video and check out the notes, reread, it's still okay, so that you can gain the right to understand. So I'm just going to go into the code here. So let's go to our editor, and so what we're going to be doing here is I think we're gonna just first off deal with the simple ones first. So I'm just gonna introduce you to the input first before we go any further. So in order for us to input value into the console, let the users give us some values, we're gonna be using the keyword input here. So that's what it's meant for. Input is meant to receive results from the user. So it actually presents the user with a prompt for them to enter some value. That's why you see here it's writing prompt. So what you can do with this input is generally the main things. You can just put quotes here and say enter name, so that this will be the message that will be presented to the user, and they'll be able to input the value. But from what we can see here, this input is generally defaulted to a string by the virtue of what we did here. So in order to turn it into maybe restricted into an integer, we do the casting we did in the last tutorial, that was type conversion. So that's a cast we did here, so it should expect us to input an integer only. Same happens if you are expecting a float and so forth. So what we're going to be doing here, but before we go in further, let's just run this so that you can see how it's working. And we're just going to be run here, and this says enter name. So I'm going to enter name, but it's quite awkward because we say a float here and we're now entering a name. But just for the sake of realizing how this thing goes, we casted it to a float so it shouldn't pass, because it will give us an error because it's expecting a float. So let's just pass a string and see the error, and just say float here error could not convert string to float, because here we're already casting it to a float. So what it means is it's expecting a float value. So we're just gonna say here enter balance, because we are expecting a float value. So what happens is if we add the balance at 12.3 and process finished successfully, and we are not outputting anything actually, but as you can see there is no error, it's working. So let's jump onto the format specifier in Python, then we'll be able to format these values we receive. So in our print statement, we can do a lot of things to the output here. So one thing that we need to know is we can use the general codes and put a percentage, as this is going to be representing the string that you're going to receive from the input. So we're going to be needing to change back our float here from a float into the original we had here. So we're going to say name, and we're going to be using a variable name to hold the value that's going to be input by the user. And after that, we're going to be using again another percentage name here, so that we can read the value into this as we specified here. So if we run the program, we should be able to see enter name, and on the enter name, oh, how can I miss my name, Glen here. And as you can see, it's printing out glen and it's working. That's how it interface. The value here will be inserted into the string. So what happens if you want to print a float, like you said? So we're gonna say total here, and we're gonna wrap around again our function so that we can output a float. So we're gonna just say enter balance, and now for a float variable, that's where we deal with the F specifier. The format specifier for that is an if. So what we need to do is take care of this. The moment you say you are dealing with a float here, you also have to change the format specifier depending on that. So if we run this enter balance, and you're gonna write here 21.1, and as you can see, it say must be a real number, not a string. What happens is we are outputting the name. I forgot to change that, so it's a good thing we have this error. You can also check, read here, and then see what you went wrong. As you can see, we needed to change that. So if we run our codes right now, say enter balance, and we're getting our 12.12. There are a lot of trailings here of the comma. So if you need peradventure to specify the number of decimal places, that's where the dot operator and the 2 here is needed. So what we're saying now is saying we need 2 decimal places after the comma. If you need 3, you're just gonna place 3. For now, we're just gonna need 2. So let's see what happens. We run our code again. We say 12.3434. If we enter, it's saying could not convert string. Again, what do we do here? What did you do? Let's check. Let's rerun this. Enter balance, say 12 point. All right, I put some commas in my entry there. So let's say, and as you can see, it's concatenating these values and then leaving out 12.12. That's what happens. So the next thing we're going to look at is the integer type. So just going to say int here. I'm just going to leave it as enter balance again. So the thing to remember is you have to change again this format specifier to D. For D, that is dealing with a decimal number. So if we print this one, we should be able to see the actual decimal we entered. And as you can see, it's giving us 12. What happens now is you are now familiar with these things, the input and the output. This is so simple. That's why Python is so simple. And as we continue to our next levels and stages, we'll teach you more about Python. And for now, and for this tutorial, that's all we had to share. Grasp these concepts, put it together, and you will learn more and you will grow your skills in Python. I'll see you in the next lecture as we take you to the next level. And thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe.